welcome back to our podcast where we talk about tapping into the energy of light. We are three different, fascinating human beings from different parts of the world. One is in Spain, one is in the United States, and I'm in Dubai.
And so we will start sharing our ways of experiencing oneness and what has actually helped us. So,
That's
what
so
about you,
great.
Carol?
Me, well, when I was going to talk about my spiritual journey, it was more like how my path evolved. When I was in high school, I read a book called Siddhartha, which is a wonderful story, and I think it's founded in Buddhism. Um, but anyway, that was the one that kind of opened my eyes to a different approach, different philosophy to a spirituality. Because I was raised in a very traditional, Christian family. We went to church every Sunday, and you learn all the wonderful values of and morals and all of that. But it was when I read Siddhartha that kind of gave me a different thought process or viewpoint, and then I got into people like Ram Dass and Be Here Now. And I really liked that concept of be here now. And now we call it live in the moment or mindfulness. But that struck a chord with me very early on. Um, and then I started following people like Tony Robbins. Uh,
He's amazing.
he had I had cassette programs all over my office, and his was called Unlimited Power. And I think that was even before manifestation, it was a big thing. But he said, write down your plan. And I think I talked about this in another video, so I won't go into it, but I wrote down my plan and everything happens the way it should. And then The Secret came out, Rhonda Byrne's The Secret in 2006, I think it was. And I read that book. I actually had it on tape. Anytime I made a long trip somewhere, I would listen to that book. I probably listened to it, I don't know, 8, 10 different times. And that really resonated with me. And that's how I got into the whole manifesting thing. And I've always talked about how I'm a mountain girl. Now I'm an ocean girl, but I really am a mountain girl. And I just get so much energy, excuse me, from everything around me. And I remember throughout my life, I would say to people, I'm not really a religious person, but I consider myself, very highly spiritual, but I'm not organized religion. But I believe in some higher power, oneness, or I didn't know oneness at the time. And I have to tell you that when I wrote my book, I talk about this early on in the book that I'm not a religious person. I'm more of and I have a whole phrase of it, which is the interconnectedness of everything in the world and the universe. That was my just layman's terms of what I thought it was. And then later I found out it's oneness, which I should have known, but I didn't.
It's
Um, but that's how I defined it. And I think
yeah,
that's what
yeah.
oneness
It's
is, right?
perfect.
The
Yeah,
interconnectedness
exactly.
of everything,
Mm.
right? Um, so it's been a long, long journey for me, decades and decades of starting with this, and then you have all the other gurus, Eckhart Tolle and Wayne Dyer, and but
Mhm.
so that's kind of my spirituality. And I think back to religion and whatnot. Um, when we took my kids to church, we didn't go to a normal church. We went to something called Unity, and they talk about there are many paths to God. And, they believe in Jesus was a great prophet, and, Buddha and all of that. There are many paths to God. And I think, like you said, Palak, that people are very different, and it's wonderful that they're different. And my feeling is so long as I don't care what your belief system is, so long as you believe in, some higher energy and be able to and have the morals and the goodness and the wonderfulness in your heart, that's what's really important. Because we all are interconnected and we all have a place. and purpose, even though we may not know what that is. But I like to think that this is one of our purposes. And, that's one reason I'm writing my book too, is that I really wanted to share my experiences of doing a big transformation, making a lot of big life changes, and moving on, to encourage other people to do the same. And I have a cute little story about oneness. I got a mermaid tattoo a few months ago. And
Beautiful.
me, I have to connect with my tattoo artist, right? So I write him this email. He wants to know, and I send him all these pictures of mermaid pictures that I like and everything. And I said, and I just want you to know that I'm a I believe in oneness, that's my spirituality. I just threw that in there. So right before we started the tattoo, so I said, well, it's gonna hurt. And he pulls his chair over to me and he sits down, and he looks me right in the eye. He says, I really liked what you said in your email about oneness. And he said, just you and I are one and it's gonna be fine. Don't worry about it. And it was great, it hurt a little bit, but it was a great experience. And the fact that he did that and had that connection with me was so cool.
Oh,
Yeah, and now every time people see my tattoo that know me and they like it and they would look at it, the first question they ask is, did it hurt?
Did it hurt? Yeah. And
I
then
was in the oneness. But
I
I think, yeah, I love oneness. And I think Palak, you're really have always been into that. So what's your story?
I
How?
was very blessed to be born in India, spiritual capital of the world is what they call India. So I was very blessed to be born there. So growing up, um, I was born in Calcutta. Now it's called Kolkata. India is a land where you have so many spiritual leaders, and there's so many amazing stories, we've grown up with. So obviously, as a child, I was very curious, what is this and how did this happen? And all these stories fascinate you. Um, and magic used to fascinate me as well. So, and as I grew up, we shifted to Dubai. Dubai is another place of it's a land which says that there are endless possibilities, because from a desert, look at where it is now. So this is also a place of it's just live it, you just live your possibilities, which are whatever's possible here. And then after that, of course, I went back to India for graduation, and I graduated with a majoring in the subject philosophy. And like I said, I wish I'd studied steadily throughout the first 3 years because I was trying to up everything in the last, during exam times. So, but that time was such a fascinating time for me because that's when I used to focus and read. And I used to get so involved, like, wow, I want to read more on it. But then there was no time. You had to go to the next subject, just pick up the important subjects. But that's when philosophy opened up my mind. And like I said, I learned about how differences can coexist. Then life went on, got me busy. I look back and I'm realizing, when my sister's brother-in-law fell really ill, um, that's when I think my actively seeking out and trying to connect with the beyond or with oneness and trying everything to try and get answers. So the whole family would focus on, okay, what else is possible? We all went into solution mode. What else is possible? So me being close to my sister, whatever's happening in her life is we're all affected by it, and we all become part of it like a gang, trying to see what to do. So that's when with him in my mind, I went whenever I would hear about some spiritual healer coming, and I would go and see them and find out if something can be done. Like we didn't want to leave any stone unturned. Um, but this, I don't know, it's relentless, but this attitude of just focusing on solutions and not giving up actually helped. And connecting with your innerness and with the oneness, knowing something is possible, actually helped. That God bless his soul. He's living. The doctor gave him only 2 years to live, but he is at more than 10 years and he's still alive. Um, yeah, God's blessings. And then later on in life, when my daughter fell ill, my little one, and we had massive questions. It was, it just turned the entire life of your entire family. And then you had questions. Why did this have to happen? And why do kids, I mean, they've not even started living their life, like why? So we had all these questions, and so that's when the book came out, Is Life as We Know It, because during the day we were busy working on solutions and hospital visits and doctors and traveling, where to travel to take her. And during the night is when me and my sister, we used to be on the phone, because come on, my best friend, my biggest support is my sister. So we used to keep talking and questioning, and that's when answers started pouring in. And that book came out, Is Life as We Know It, because that gave us solace, that look at life like this. These things happen, but this is how you look at, this is what you focus in, and this is how you're part of oneness. And there's a beautiful example that my sister always gives, for oneness. She says, you look at the earth from the moon, right? And go beyond, beyond. All you can see is a small dot. You go further, beyond, beyond. The entire galaxy, the entire universe, and all those range of planets are just a little dot that you can't even identify them, right? But everything is moving in oneness, isn't it? From far, it looks like one. And when you come down into the earth, oh my God, there are so many differences. There are mountains, there are oceans, there are whales, there are forests, there are trees, there are differences, and there are, oof, you name it, it's all the dramas happening here. But and separates and individuals. But if you look from in a higher perspective, it's just one dot. Yeah. So that's how we have to realize physically also. If you look from up there, you are one. You all part of one oneness, which is working beautifully together. And that's how in our book,
That's very
she
cool.
had, yeah. And let me for this. And there's another thing she reminded me, which we have written in the book, is that look at our hands. Our hands, sometimes when something bites us, immediately our hand is doing the work. We just unconsciously we are focusing on something, and so we just go and scratch ourselves or something because something has bitten us or something has happened. And our feet, but they're all individual pieces, but they all work one body, oneness. So there is these small examples you can see of oneness actually working at a smaller level as well. So I think that the journey is still not stopped. This spiritual journey, it continues, and that thirst is there to know more, which just drives us insane. We want to know more. We want to know more. And I guess I get that. I get those juices from talking to people like you, beautiful souls. But I think for a purpose, when I've got little purposes or maybe goals, but as a purpose in life, at least for me, I believe I'm just here to experience whatever comes my way, maybe create some experiences for myself as well, yes, but just sometimes go with the flow, sometimes work at experiencing what I want to experience. And yeah, just that.
Yeah, I think that's part of the journey for all of us in a way, like to really understand us ourselves, like that phrase that was there in the Delphos Oracle when you went in Greece to meet that wise priestess for advice or for getting information from the divine. On the doorstep, there was an inscription which was "Nocete ipsum," which is know yourself. So you had to really know yourself in order to enter. And I think that's the path for all of us now. For me, it's been that would be the synthesis of my whole spiritual path into oneness, to know myself. Because when I was a child, I was fun and loving, and I was feeling like really amazed with life and in that kind of sensation of magic when I was really little until I was 3. And then I shut down. And then the rest of my life has been like, but what is going on in here? Like, that's so weird because my nature is like this kind of being that I am becoming now, remembering. And as you were saying, like flowing with life. But in my case, it's like enjoying. I have come to the world to enjoy, to walk the paths that I feel like walking, to do what I feel like doing, to be what I want to be, and go through what I want to go, and say no to what I don't want to go through.
Yes.
So that's basically it. I came here to enjoy, and that includes food, and that includes loads of things like sex, like food, like sharing, like conversations, and that's what I'm here for. But I forgot that in the way. I thought I was here to fit in. I thought I was here to please somebody. I thought I was here to be professional or to produce things or to, I don't know. I thought I was here to loads of things that I was not here for. And
Yeah.
so my path to oneness has really been a path to be myself and just not to evolve on all the things. I could summarize my journey in an experience I had the other day, which was actually I was having a connection. I was doing a work with my womb and the memories from my lineage, from all the women in my lineage and all the womb hurt
Wow.
and pains. And I was just like also in a work with myself to show up professionally on Instagram and things. And you know about this because we have shared a little bit. So to show my work and show who I am and do what I want to do with my therapist. And so I was doing this letter that he had told me to write to my ancestors. And I went to a park where I always connect with life and the spirit and the divine and everything. It's a peaceful place. I feel like home every time I enter. It's like my body relaxes, and it's like such a beautiful place. And it's an initiatic garden where you actually go through different parts of the garden where there are like different stages of how to connect with the spirit and then how to materialize things. So it's the whole range from matter to the etheric aspect of your life. And there is a part when you actually choose, I mean, you have the physical aspect, and then you go to a place where there are two amazing yew trees, which represent, for me, the two lineages, father and mother, and the two family trees. And that is precisely before you go into matter. So you have all your life memories from a place that you come from. So that the spirit, the individualization of your soul and the spirit, then you go all your memories like the Akashic registers, and then you go and you choose these family trees to actually incarnate, and then you get a body with all the memories from the cellular memories of the DNA, and then you get your body, and then you go on to have your experiences. So there were these two trees, and I was reading the letter to my ancestors out loud to actually these two amazing trees. So it was like, that's my father lineage and that's my mother's lineage, you know. So I was reading it out loud, and it was basically saying how I had felt not being like seen or being feared, or all these sensations that I have had. Why not to show up, you know? All these things that I'm the weird one, I should shut up, I shouldn't say what I think because it's not allowed. And I linked it to so many memories that I've had of being like memories of past lives, memories that are there. I don't know if I think they're mine because I have visions and images and feelings, but it could be my DNA or however you want to call it. I don't really care about where it comes from. I know I am experiencing those beliefs. That is like, if I speak up, I might be hanged or burned or killed in many ways. So it's like, you shouldn't talk. And I had this kind of thing here that closes my gut. And then I had all sorts of experiences with also giving birth to things. And like I was telling before, being born. So I was reading all these things to my ancestors and saying, you know what? I understand where that comes from. I understand all of that is to keep me safe and alive in times where it was not good to say things like the things I say, like
True.
seeing other things and having other perspectives, talking about other kinds of realities. And so you could be killed for that. So I understand that it was like, it's better if we hide her, we make her shut up. And so it's like, it's okay. I accept that I can shut up and I can adapt to anything, anywhere. I'm really good at it. But now I'm going to decide and I'm going to show up because I want to. And because I'm going to do it, and it's emotional, I'm going to do it for myself and for all of you. And so I was reading that out loud there in that tree, in those trees. And then I was called to go to a place called the Abbey in Glastonbury, the Glastonbury Abbey. There was an egg in there, and I felt like I had to sit down on it and write. And I was writing about, my conception and my birth and everything that I wanted to create. And then it started to rain, and the only place to take shelter, it's a crypt, and it's in the Ladies' Chapel, so Mary Magdalene's chapel, like Mary's chapel. And the crypt is dedicated to Joseph. And so I had this kind of sensation. I was there connecting with my body and the sensations that I was feeling in my womb and my body, as all this information was actually, and I was embodying all this shift. And so I was there having a conversation with my body and with my ancestors. And then I opened my eyes and I saw the Lady Chapel right in front of me. I was right in the altar. And I was writing there because it was the only table and the only covered place. So I arrived to the Abbey and I was led there, and I was writing these things about my womb and my creativity and things like that. And it started to rain, and I went into the Ladies' Chapel. And there I started to have like this conversation with my body. And the important thing about this and oneness is that as I was having this conversation with my body, like I was having a conversation, I was answered by the reality around me. So I was thinking about how the pain of my ancestors and all these wounds that I was feeling, and suddenly a bell started ringing, like, when they're calling for a dead person, so very dramatic and slow. And then I started to say, well, I transmute all this. And then I started to feel in my body things. And then I started to say, well, thank you for all of this. Now I'm choosing. And then the sun came out and the bells started to ring differently. And there was all this kind of interaction between what I was thinking and feeling and the clouds and the birds that were coming. So, and the bells, for example, were ringing for 2 hours. I was there for 2 hours and they went on for 2 hours. I've never heard bells ringing in a church for more than 1 hour, maybe. So I don't know if they were trying something, a mechanism in the bell thing or whatever, but they were for 2 hours ringing the bells in different moods and different calls and different things. Because when I finished there and I was like in awe because of that conversation, I was like, I need to check if the bells are like functioning properly or what's going on in that other church. So I went there and it was closed. I mean, it was nothing going on in there. So I didn't know what was going on. But the thing was that in that moment, I could feel that answer back from the universe, that sensation of oneness. And that is basically, for me, the summary of the whole journey. Although I have gone through many things and, A Course in Miracles and lots of things and therapy and trainings and Reiki and million things. But finally, the thing that I feel that connects me to feel one with everything is to realize that every time I have an issue or I want to create something or I enjoy something, it's always an answer back. There's always an answer back. There's always something between me and the surroundings, between me and the reality around me that is creating this dialogue, this rapport. And I'm having that, like when I disconnect and I turn down my frequency and I get into, these worries or other kind of thoughts, I don't see it. I feel like it's not there. And although I know it's there and I trust that it's there, I feel any kind of, or worry or tiredness or I feel down or whatever. But then when I start raising my frequency again, I rest, I do something I like, I go for a coffee under the sun or whatever, and I raise my frequency again. Suddenly it's there again, and it's never left. It's just that I just brought myself to a state in which I cannot perceive that. So for me, oneness is a fact. The thing is that we cannot perceive it if we are in a worried state of mind or sad or whatever. But if we start to be open and loving to ourselves and who we are, and we accept what we are, so we don't have any insecurities like, oh my God, how am I gonna earn money? That comes from, for example, I don't trust my worth and I don't think I have anything to give to the world. So how am I going to survive? Like, I'm not going to be accepted and I'm not going to be sustained by the reality outside. So I'm in danger. When you're in that mood, everything is a worry and you get tired and you're fighting your way through and you're alone against the world and life is your enemy. And that is not a good place to be. But if you start feeling like you've got value, that you've got something to give, that people will like it or want it because it's useful, not everyone, of course, but the people that actually want it because you were made for a reason, the way you're made. So there's something inside you that needs to come out because that's why you came. So, and it's a way in which you will enjoy, you will have fun, you will recognize what you're teaching because you will be learning from the things that come out of your mouth. You will be having an amazing creative experiences because maybe you don't know what you're going to say. So you allow yourself to be in that uncertainty, but in that creative state in which you're answering and the universe is loving. And that is an experience that finally ends up giving like a whole new perspective. And then you see that you're part with one, you're a oneness. So that's been my path. Of course, going through my mind, which is really tricky because this one is like a Ferrari, I used to say.
Ferrari.
It's very
Vroom.
fast. This is very fast. So if you don't drive well and you have a Ferrari, you are in danger.
Yes.
You need to know how to drive because otherwise you will be giving bad turns and you probably end up having an accident. So that happened to me for quite a lot of times, those accidents, like not thinking properly, associating thoughts that were very harming for myself, lack of self-love, self-esteem, and all of those things. But when you start working on all those things and you start like doing those kind of rituals, but it's not the ritual in itself, is that you're giving yourself the permission to do something that you are and that you want to do, then life starts to become different. That's what I have experienced with oneness. And by the
Beautiful.
way, I loved when you talked about the hands, Balak, because I have a thing that happens to me sometimes when I wake up in the morning and I just woke up. I sometimes extend my hand and I see my hand and it feels so odd the way it moves. Like, how does it move? Like, oh my God, I'm thinking and it's moving. Is it like real? Like, how am I doing it so that it moves? It's such a weird sensation because
It's so weird.
so
Yes.
weird. It's like, what is this? It's like, this is a body.
Randomly. Yeah.
It's not me. What is going on here? And I feel so weird.
Never heard of this, guys. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to wake up and go.
It's so weird. I mean, when
It's a
you
weird
start
feeling.
seeing it,
Suddenly you look at your hand and you go, huh? Like,
yeah,
hello?
like, what is this? And then suddenly you move it and it's like, how is it moving? Like,
It's
what?
so strange
It's so strange.
sometimes. Randomly.
Because and that's suddenly like if I had been out of a body experience, having a out of a body experience during the night, and suddenly I'm boom in the body, and it's like, whoa, what is this?
Whoa, what is that?
I don't remember my dreams at all, but it's like, oh my God, this is what is this? And it's so weird. So I like that because that has happened to me a few times like that, or going through, for example, when I was raised, the street, I used to walk through that street like every day for years and years. And some days I would be walking down the street and suddenly had this sensation of, where am I? Like if it was a strange place that I had never seen before. And it was like, what is that? Suddenly. And I was there walking down the street and suddenly it's like, wow, like, deja vus, but in a different
Deja
way.
vu. But
Not like
deja vu is like, I've been here before,
the
isn't it?
exactly opposite. It's like I've been here before, and suddenly it's like I've never been here, and then it's like wow, but I have lived here for
Understand.
years. but it's like
Yeah.
that sensation of foreignness, like
Yeah, I have a feeling
alien,
of experience at once. Yeah.
that is so
I
weird.
understand what you're saying.
It's like
It's
suddenly
weird.
you see a
And sometimes
picture,
you wonder, is it your brain playing tricks with you or what's going on?
what's
Oh God,
going
I'm so
on?
glad it happens to you too. I thought I was the weird one.
No, it happens to me too. And I think it's that sensation of suddenly coming to from another kind of awareness, as you were saying, like far away, perceiving things from a different dimension or perspective. And then suddenly, boom, you're into a body in a like suddenly, and it's like, what's going on? You know, like such a
What's going
shift.
on?
It's very
So
weird.
true. It's very weird. Yeah.
I was thinking, precisely now that I'm talking about this white light thing in which actually if we can have an experience of energy or light without the body, it's actually light. I mean, there's no boundaries to what we are. And in those no boundaries is where everything existed. There's a huge potential. And I think that's the quantum field. And that's what actually fascinates me is like, we're not bound, we're not limited to this. And this sensation of, oh my God, this is weird, is that how does it move? I mean, how do you move your hand? Have you ever wondered? Like, and sometimes it's like, you hurt yourself and you're just like, okay, I'm gonna detach from that wound or that pain, and suddenly it starts not to hurt and things like that. It's like, oh my
Yeah, it's
God, like
fascinating.
so
Yeah.
thought. It's all in here. Yeah,
Fascinating body, fascinating spirits that we are, or energies
and
that we
tantra,
are.
fascinating
Every,
tantra.
yeah, absolutely. Everything is fascinating, isn't it? I mean, life is so fascinating. How can we be dull? All we have to do is just open up and keep learning and saying, and just be curious. Don't let that curiosity die inside of us.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, guys, thank you for joining us. We have talked today about our spiritual journeys towards oneness and what has helped us to connect with it. We hope you have got some interesting tips or clues that make your journey better. And we'd love to hear from you, any comments, and as Palak always says,
Like, share, and subscribe.